Welcome to class 7 students. This is the continuation part of the chapter nervous system in humans. I have explained you till the topic of different parts of brain, which are cerebrum, cerebellum and medulla oblongata. So I hope you have understood till that part, understood everything well. Okay, so the next topic that I'm going to talk about is the spinal cord. Okay, so what is the spinal cord? The spinal cord is the continuation of the medulla oblongata of the brain. It is like a cord coming out from a hole at the base of the skull, running through the full length of the vertebral column. The vertebral column protects the spinal cord. So one thing I need to tell you, don't get confused between the spinal cord and the vertebral column. Okay, the vertebral column is the outer part within which the spinal cord lies. Okay, and the spinal cord is like a continuation of the medulla oblongata. Suppose this is the brain. Okay, and at the base of the brain there is a hollow, means a hole, and if this is the skull. Okay, and within the skull there is a brain, and through the medulla oblongata continues like this, and it continues like the spinal cord. So this is the skull, this is the brain, this portion is the medulla oblongata, and this portion is the spinal cord. Okay, so this is how the spinal cord is connected to the brain. The vertebral column protects the spinal cord. So basically the vertebral column is the outside part of the spinal cord. A cross section of the spinal cord shows two similar halves fused together to form a small canal in the center known as the central canal. So look at this picture. You can see a small hole at the center which is known as the central canal. Okay. It contains the cerebrospinal fluid. The central canal is surrounded by a H-shaped area called the grey matter. So in this picture only you can see the grey matter, right? This dark colored area is the grey matter. And it consists of the cell bodies of neurons. So all the neurons, their cell bodies are located within the grey matter, which is the inside portion, and the outer portion is the white matter, which consists of the nerve fibers. Clear? Now coming to the functions of the spinal cord. The main function of the spinal cord is reflex action. Now what is reflex action? Let me give you an example. Suppose if I touch something very hot, if we sometimes by mistake we touch a hot utensil, right? So what we do, we instantly take our hand back. We don't think about it. It is a reflex action. That means it is controlled by the spinal cord. It is not controlled by the brain, because if it was controlled by the brain, it would have taken a few more seconds extra, which would have been harmful for us. Okay, so that is why I am telling that the main function of the spinal cord is reflex action. See, the spinal cord controls actions that do not involve the brain. For example, if you step on a sharp object, you instantly withdraw your foot, or when you touch a hot object, you withdraw your hand immediately. These reactions are automatic and do not involve thinking. Therefore, they are called reflex action. So we do not have to think. Suppose if I ask you a question, you will have to think for the answer. But some questions like what is your name, you will not have to think for that. You means your if you know what your name is, and it will be a spontaneous instant answer. So things which do not involve the brain, that is, which do not involve thinking to give the answer or to give that response, those are controlled by the spinal cord. These reactions are automatic and do not involve thinking. Therefore, they are called reflex actions. Thus, a reflex action, this definition is very, very important, is a quick automatic response to a stimulus without any involvement of the brain. You will learn more about reflex action in the next class. Next class, as in when you go to class 8, you will learn more about this. Okay. So, from here you will have to learn about reflex action, and you will have to give, if you are asked the question of reflex action, you will have to give the example. Okay, so the next topic is how messages reach the brain. Okay, so how do messages reach the brain? The peripheral nervous system transmits the messages to and from the sense organ. So the PNS is there. PNS, which is the peripheral nervous system. The PNS will carry the messages to the brain or the spinal cord. B/S means brain or spinal cord. Now the brain or spinal cord will analyze the whole situation, which is initiated by the stimulus. The stimulus is doing something, a change, which will cause the PNS to take the messages to the brain or spinal cord. Okay, next what will happen? The brain or the spinal cord will give messages to the sensory organs, means the sense organs. Okay, this is how the messages reach the brain, and from the brain the response is given out. So let's read from the book. The peripheral nervous system transmits messages to and from the sense organs and is responsible for voluntary actions such as cycling, swimming, and so on. Messages enter the spinal cord from all parts of the body and reach the brain. As I have said, that the peripheral nervous system, their main function is to carry the messages to the brain or the spinal cord, which sends back the messages to various parts of the body through the spinal cord. So this, they will then analyze the message and will send the response or any such message to the sense organs. Okay, so this is how this brain or spinal cord receive messages and then they give out the responses. Next, the last page, you will find the differences between voluntary actions and reflex actions. So I've already told you what reflex actions are, but how are they different from voluntary actions? Let's read. Voluntary actions, these are under our control of the brain. So voluntary means which are under our control. Obviously the voluntary actions are under the control of the brain, but the reflex actions, they are under the control of the spinal cord. Okay. Next, voluntary action, the speed of response is slow. A little bit slower response time in voluntary actions, but reflex action, the speed of response is immediate or very faster than the voluntary actions. Okay, so you will have to learn these differences, and the other differences, like from the cerebellum, medulla oblongata part, you may get differences between cerebrum and cerebellum based on their location and function. So I hope you can write those, and you can get differences between sensory and motor nerves. These are all the things that you might get. And for the diagram of this chapter, you will have to do the structure of neuron, synapse, and this one, the cross section of a spinal cord, figure 8.5, page 93. So these are the diagrams that you will need to do from this chapter. Okay, so this chapter is over and we have one more chapter left for the second unit test, which is allergy. Okay, we will do that in the next video.